Welcome to this podcast from Stratfor, leader in global intelligence.
U.S. Vice President Joe Biden has been on the road all week. He's just wrapped up a visit to Georgia, just ahead of the one-year anniversary of its war with Russia. In Tbilisi and in Ukraine earlier this week, Biden was called on to perform the diplomatic version of a high-wire act, offering assurances that Washington won't abandon these states despite its efforts to engage Russia, while also taking their political leaders to task over domestic infighting and other issues. I'm Marla Dial with the Stratfor Daily Podcast. Biden's delicate balancing act has been interesting to watch for a number of reasons. Timing is one. Tensions around Georgia are climbing as the anniversary of the war over South Ossetia approaches. But his trip also follows President Barack Obama's recent summit in Moscow, which foundered over the issue of ballistic missile defense installations in Europe. In fact, there's been no evidence that Russia got anything much out of the meetings with Obama. What it has wanted for quite some time is at least an implicit acknowledgement of its sphere of influence in the former Soviet region. And that's defined, at least in part, by the U.S. knocking off what Russia sees as meddling in states like Georgia and Ukraine. In a speech to the Georgian parliament yesterday, Biden spoke clearly enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know that some are concerned, and I understand it, that our efforts to reset relations with Russia will come at the expense of Georgia. Let me be clear. They have not, they will not, and they cannot. We stand by the principle that sovereign democracies have the right to make their own decisions and choose their own partnerships and their own alliances. We stand against the 19th century notion of spheres of influence. It has no place in the 21st century.
The words sound like a challenge to Moscow, but there's at least as much, if not more, truth in the things that Biden didn't promise. Tbilisi has been asking for military weapons, the better to defend itself against conventional attacks by Russia, in addition to the counterinsurgency training it already gets from the U.S. But Biden said no deal. Washington's eye is on a bigger game. If it sells weapons to Georgia, the fear is that Russia would retaliate by selling weapon systems to Iran. So that request fell on deaf ears. Another request from Georgia is for the United States to send security monitors to Abkhazia and South Ossetia, joining European monitors in the breakaway regions. This supposedly would be a more effective hedge against Russian mobilizations than the Europeans alone can provide. Biden said Washington supports the monitors, but not whether the Americans are willing to join them. From Georgia's perspective, the only unequivocal security guarantee it could get would be NATO membership. But that's not entirely up to Washington. France and Germany have declared the issue a non-starter, and whether anyone says it or not, that's probably just fine with the United States, which needs to keep its talks with Russia going in hopes of making progress on other strategic issues. This is the way Biden explained Washington's policy to a group of South Ossetian schoolchildren who were displaced by the war with Russia a year ago.
The United States does not like at all what Russia did. But that does not mean we stop talking with Russia. When you stop talking, there's only one option, and that's fighting.
Stratfor has been tracking and analyzing all the aspects of U.S. and Russian strategy, along with other geopolitical issues. Get the details, the history, and the outlook for the third quarter by logging onto our website at www.stratfor.com. Also, please be sure to join us tomorrow for the Stratfor Weekend podcast, when we'll be bringing you insights into the key issues of the week ahead.